Let's continue our conversation on Stoicism, going over the moral letters by Lucius Annaeus Seneca. We landed at letter 51, and I actually wanted to skip the entire first part and then jump right in at section 10. One who is serious about such reflections should choose settings that are conducive to sobriety and clean living. Too much comfort makes the spirit unmanly, and even mere location undoubtedly has some power to ruin one's strength. Draft animals whose hooves have been toughened by hard ground can travel on any road. Those that have been fattened in soft meadows quickly go lame. The soldier who has been posted in steep places becomes ever stronger. The urbanite is a lazy fellow. Hands that go directly from plow handle to sword hilt can handle any kind of work, while those that gleam from manicure and massage give up the minute they have to get dirty. The harsher discipline of some places strengthens one's spirit and renders it fit for great endeavors. Scipio's exile was more honorable at Liternum than it would have been at B.R.E. So great a fall should not have so soft a landing. True, Gaius Marius, Gnaeus Pompey and Caesar, those leaders on whom fortune bestowed the full resources of the Roman people, also built villas near B.R.E., but they situated them on the tops of hills, feeling that as generals it would be more to their purpose to have a vantage point from which to view all the regions below. Just look at the sites they chose and at the kinds of structures they built, and you will see they are not villas but strongholds. I had to think here of the kind of things that we can go through in life, and how that can be relevant. And I've chosen a very innocent example, but one I've always felt has been useful to me. When I was working on my PhD, you dive in and you start to run an experiment and all that stuff. And the first experiment I conducted gave null results, so it was not conclusive. We were trying to contrast two hypotheses, and we found evidence really for neither, and that was difficult. So we ended up trying to write a paper that was as clear as we could, and we submitted it somewhere, and it went out for peer review. So this is how science works, right? You submit a manuscript, and then it goes to people who work in that field. They read it, they see if they agree with the methods, if there are no objective errors in that paper, etc., that kind of stuff. And the reviews we got back were really quite scathing. There was one. This is an anonymous process, peer review, but there was one person, I think she actually signed. She must have signed, otherwise I wouldn't know who she was. But she is one of the experts in that specific field. And she started her review with, well, I really cannot accept this. And then there was, I think, about a page and a half, maybe 2 pages of comments along the lines of, you missed this, and you missed this, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and you missed this, and you missed... So it was really... She was certainly not mean, but she pointed out a lot that was wrong with that specific paper. And it was harsh criticism. Not unjust, but harsh. And I remember my supervisor walking by, and kind of, it was early in the morning. Because the time difference in the Netherlands, and it was sent out to the US, right? So I mean, we got that in the morning. He walked by and he kind of stuck his head around the door of my office, and he said, "Are you okay? It's not always like this, you know. It's not. This is exceptional. Like, it's not usually this bad." He was afraid that I would be discouraged, but I actually, frankly, I saw her point. We had missed specific literature. There were some things that we should address in a revision of that paper. So we conducted a second experiment, and then that kind of gave null results as well. And at the end of the day, it was published somewhere. But I mean, this took a long time, and this was supposed to be an easy, hiccups, an easy, straightforward experiment I should startle myself. Ballpoint user. Worked. So it got published, but it was supposed to be an easy experiment, an easy project to start with on this 4 or 5 year PhD project. And I'm still grateful for that, because it was hard, it was difficult to get it published somewhere, it was rejected by a journal, which is not uncommon for the record, but I mean, it was interesting because there was another PhD student who was a very good PhD student, but my supervisor later said her first paper was accepted almost without feedback from the reviewers, which is awesome. That's very rare in science, but he said the problem with that is that was so easy that afterwards, when she got more feedback, which is much more normal that you get a lot of feedback, it kind of took her aback a bit, and she was a little startled that she got so much feedback, which again is the normal situation. It's very rare that a paper get accepted with such small revisions, as happened in her case. So what I'm trying to say is, I like this idea of Seneca. I very much like the analogy he uses. He's very good at his metaphorical stuff of, if you have an animal of burden that's walked on hard road, its hooves will harden and it can walk anywhere. But you have some sort of fat animal in a meadow that's never been exercised, it'll go lame, it'll break down very quickly, right? Breakdown is not exactly the proper terminology for animals, but you know what I mean. So I think that a certain level of setbacks is very helpful. And interestingly enough, the second project I did for my PhD also was difficult, also was kind of null results, also was hard to publish. And at the time it was hard, especially with that second project, because you see people around you, other PhD students, who just, oh, another paper, oh yeah, another paper, and you're struggling to get your work published because both times you found not unimportant, but simply null results, or results that are difficult to sell. But I'm grateful that that is what my first experiences were, because although it is difficult and honestly frustrating at the time, it does prepare you to deal with setbacks in that specific context. And I've always felt that to be a very valuable lesson. Looking back, if I would have the choice of, would you like to have that happen again, or would you like to get something published straight away? With what I know now, I would probably say no. Let me do it all over again, just the way I did it, simply because it has made me stronger, more flexible, maybe better able to deal with criticism. And dealing with criticism remains hard. It's always hard, but it's become easier because of those initial experiences, I find. Speak at a very purely professional level. So I think that's very good, very useful, has been a very helpful experience. And I think that is something that we should not forget. Sometimes we go through harder things in life. Again, I've picked a very innocent example of working on a PhD project. But this happens in life too, where we go through something that is hard at the time, difficult at the time, but because we go through that, we come out of it stronger, maybe more resilient, better adapted. And I think that is very helpful, strengthening, and useful in everyday life. So instead of looking at these sorts of challenges as obnoxious and difficult, which is easy to do, understandable to do, you can try to change your mind, change your way of looking at it, and consider them as, this is something that will build my character, build my strength as a person. And I think that can be very helpful. So maybe remember that next time something unpleasant happens, It's not obviously I'm not talking about the massively bad things in life. I mean, sometimes things are indeed very oppressive and but I'm talking more things that are really in the context of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think that very much applies to this kind of stuff. So there you have it. Hope this was useful. Next week I'll be back with more talk about Stoicism. I'll see you then. Bye.